Alrighty, hello everybody and welcome back to Osmania Long No Tournament 4th edition. We are wrapping up our semifinals weekend. It's already semifinals, which is a bit crazy. But anyway, wrapping up this wonderful weekend we've had with some winners bracket matches and wrapping up the losers bracket as well. I believe this is our final winners bracket of this weekend on this lovely Sunday. And this is going to be a close one. This is Pavin, our second seed, versus the myucchii, also known as myucchii, who is our third seed. So a 1 seed differential, and probably the closest one we'll see by far. As always, I am Arasati, and commentating along with me is going to be none other than Sparky. How's it going, Sparky?
Oh, it's going absolutely fantastic. And like you were saying, I do not know who has the advantage in this match. I mean, we've seen some pretty close calls between both of these players already in this tournament, and I mean, going into this, it's a 1 seed difference, but in a 1v1 vacuum, it feels like there's so much overlap between these two players and their skill sets. The fact that they're probably going to be sharpshooting literally everything in this map pool, it's really just going to come down to who can keep that 200 count, who can keep that 300 count even as low as humanly possible.
Yeah, I feel these players are going to have to play to the best of their abilities. No one can sleep at the wheel here. I mean, especially when you're looking at a player like Pavin, who has really set a name for themselves as one of the LN greats so far. And I mean, also say with myucchii, these two players are probably the most predominant players we have ever seen step into the Osmania community. And I mean, it shows. Seed 2 and Seed 3, those are not easy numbers to get in such a highly competitive tournament like this. So I'm very excited to see a match like this. I mean, I'm at a loss of words already.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like in weekends past, it's been a absolute slugfest for both these players to get here sometimes, where score lines could be completely different. We could have had moments where either of these players could have gone to the losers bracket if a couple hundred points went one way or the other in previous matchups. And it really just goes to show how much fight these two players have in terms of being able to put up the scores that they're putting up, because if they slipped up for even the tiniest little moments leading up to this matchup, we'd probably be looking at different players in the semifinals matchup.
Yeah, and honestly, I feel like what do you even go for here with stuff like this? I mean, this is a match also where you guarantee a podium spot. The winner of this match will go to the, well, at least place 3rd, 2nd, or 1st in that podium placement. But, I mean, myucchii did say they will be 5 minutes or so late to the lobby beforehand. So, honestly, we should just have to kill some time here, but I mean, what do you even go for here if you're myucchii? I mean, we've already seen some pretty stressful matches with myucchii in the past. I mean, did we not commentate Velos's match with myucchii? That was insanely close.
There were some very hard-to-mouth moments. I think they snuck by 6-4 in that matchup. And I want to say some of the tighter margins we've seen in this tournament, where a lot of the scores were inside of 1,000 points between the two of them. And there were moments where Velos had a pretty significant advantage. I think myucchii came from 3-1 down to kind of turn the match on its head to ensure that they won. And Pavin being able to take down Konkawa, a little bit less of a stressful matchup, but if you look at the MP link, the score difference between the two of them is literally, I don't think they had a single map that was under or was over like a 3,000 point difference. So again, I go back to the same thing. It's like there's a world in which we see two completely different players on this particular stage, and that's terrifying to think, because this is our second and third seed, and even they're having to like fight with other players lower seeded than them to get here.
Yeah, I mean, going back to your talk about how close some of these matches have been, myucchii was down 4-2 against Veloz and took 4 in a row to win that match. Well, of course, Pavin's side to this spot was a lot more easier than what myucchii had. I believe Pavin didn't really have to deal with coming back from deficits, but like you mentioned, just by no stretch of the imagination was it like that simple. There were times where just things were oh so close in score differences, and you go back to like Konkawa match where that's actually the most points that Pavin has given up this entire match, or this entire tournament actually, only given up 2 points in that match, while their last one was against Flowerful, which I also compensated for that, and that was only a singular point. So Pavin being a bit more dominant with when it comes to giving up points, they do manage to take a lot more than what myucchii has done. But then again, they've had a much easier route than myucchii. While myucchii's actually only given up 7, they've given up 4 to Veloz and then 3 to Leon, and then actually 1 more to yeah, I read that wrong. Yes, I'm right.
Got there in the end. But yeah, it's looking back on these two in a vacuum, I don't even want to try guessing as to what they're going to ban and protect. I feel like the entire map pool is open to them in terms of what they could go for. They're, like I was saying, just the overlap between the two of them. It's just which maps have given them the least amount of issue is really going to be the deciding factor for the protects. And for the ban, I imagine it's probably just going to be like map length being the determining factor. I know a lot of players, especially once we get into this like mid to late game kind of range, don't want to play maps that are over like 3.5 minutes, closer to 4 minutes. And we do have a couple of maps that kind of teeter on that edge, so if anything, I wouldn't be surprised if those got removed as we finally see myucchii enter the lobby.
Yeah, I do believe you will be correct once we get to that stage where I wouldn't be surprised if we see some of the more longer maps get struck off the board here, or potentially just if somehow one of these maps are just not that comfortable for these players, or maybe, I mean, when it comes to both these players, I know Pavin definitely has that advantage in the accuracy department. They are one of the ACK greats, and honestly, myucchii as well, very strong, but can drop a lot of 200s if they are not careful. So Pavin is a extreme consistency demon, but myucchii is not too far behind, as you can see from that seed differential. They basically are almost pretty much tied when it comes to skills, and myucchii going to be getting to win the role, and they are going to opt for that first ban. So we will wait and see what myucchii will go for with that. But honestly, looking at this, I can probably see a coordination or a wild card potentially get knocked from myucchii, but we are going to have to see.
Yeah, now finally getting the decisions out of the way. Pavin going to be the one protecting first. Our referee, I think needing to get some lunch here. It's been a long weekend for our refs, so we'll cut him some slack.
Yes, it has.
It's very stressful being in a situation. You want to make sure that the players are ready to go, but at the same time, it's like you gotta ensure that you yourself are ready to keep things in order. So first protect gonna be density 4 actually from Pavin.
Yeah, we are gonna see that density 4 get the protect here from Pavin. Makes sense, honestly. They are very solid at density. Honestly, one of the greats. Like I said, I keep on like reinventing the wheel.
They're all good.
I know.
It's hard because they're all really good. We run out of superlatives to describe them.
Yeah, like these players are the pretty much like the leaders of the respective country when Mania World Cup happened this year and previous editions as well. I mean, I actually got to verse Pavin firsthand in back in 2023, I think. And although that match didn't really have that many long note picks, it was mainly a Rice battle. Um, I did notice like Pavin's previous scores on past like matches in that Mania World Cup 2023. They are crazy. And also same with myucchii. I've seen what they've done. We've actually basically seen what they've done, and both these players absolutely insane. And the bans are out of the way. Density 2 gonna get banned, and then we're also gonna see a Wildcard 4 ban from Pavin. And myucchii are gonna go for a Coordination 2 protect, so maybe gonna see if they can potentially score off of maybe Ratio here on the side of Pavin. And gonna open things up with Technical 2. So an OD8 near 7-star map. This is gonna be a banger opening.
Yeah, light work kind of a map for these players. I wouldn't be surprised if we were gonna be hemming and hawing about little hundredths of a percent of accuracy difference throughout the entire match here. That being said, I mean, both these players have had tiny little hiccups here and there in their matches where it's like the points that they have given over have been off the back of like just little minute misses, little miscues. So this will be a really good little litmus test to see where the players' headspaces are at as we officially get this one underway.
Yeah, here we go, underway with the first map of this best of 11, first to 6. And honestly, I'm very excited for this match. I've been anticipating this match ever since I saw like the staff listing for each. I was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah,
this is going to be something.
Yes, this is definitely the marquee matchup of the weekend. I feel like these two, I think we were saying before the broadcast, I literally said, I don't know who wins this one in reality. This will help shed some light on it, but there is very little separating the two players through the opening quarter of the map. It is 300% of difference. Pavin currently in the lead by ever so slightly, but picking up a couple of 200s and a break, actually, to give the advantage over to myucchii going into this first TI section, and now the lead balloons to 3,000 points in myucchii's favor as we continue on here. Pavin now just barely getting back over that 400 combo cap.
Yeah, and myucchii now gonna opt for the first lead of this match here. And I mean, we have taken note from what we saw last week against Veloz. myucchii is not safe with the combo breaks either. We have seen last week, myucchii did drop a lot when it comes to some of these matches, and that was the deal breaker for some of those maps against Veloz last week. And this is a whole new different pool. The ante has been upped, so I think the risk factor here is a lot higher in contrast to last week. But if myucchii can stay consistent and learn from their mistakes from last week, then potentially we could see a whole different story here. Right now, they are doing very well.
Absolutely. A third of the map left to go here. Pavin recovering very nicely from that early drop. Now coming back up to rival myucchii's accuracy. But right now, myucchii just kind of resting on that miss in the back pocket, being able to keep themselves ahead in terms of accuracy as well, kind of staving off any potential advances from Pavin with a quarter of the map left to go. Anything can still happen. This map is still really tricky to read through. A lot of very awkward staggered patterns, especially in these break sections where you're having to hyper-focus through the dense portions, and really the lighter sections are I feel where you could potentially slip up, not with misses, but with just bleeding unnecessary accuracy. As you can see there, myucchii finally trained the miss back, and everything goes back into disarray. A much messier miss on their side gives the lead back to Pavin. With 1,500 points going into the last lever of chart here.
It's still anybody's game here. As you mentioned, 1,000 points, and myucchii does finally crack under the pressure. But it's not over until that playfield disappears and the scores finalized. It's still anyone's game. Pavin is one miss away from swinging this back, even maybe a couple 200s. But this map is starting to wind down. And if nothing happens, Pavin will be taking the first point and a break point as well. Oh my goodness, it came down to the wire, and wow. It was the difference of 2 misses.
Oh, that's actually really surprising. Pavin winning the accuracy battle they like I said, they did really nicely to bring it back up to that 99.8 range, but getting the lower 300 count and just a slighter break in comparison to myucchii just chunking probably one chord, maybe just one LN in the grand scheme of things, being enough to be their undoing. And I mean, that's what we're talking about. The minute little details, the nitty gritty separating the two of them, and Pavin the beneficiary that time around as they waste no time. We're going for Density 1.
Yeah, gonna immediately jump to, I believe, yeah, Density 1, like you said. Honestly, I feel this is going to be Pavin's comfort zone here. They are going to rely heavily off of these Density picks. I mean, they did protect Density 4. myucchii did go for that Density 2 ban. And honestly, it's one of those situations where even if, like, you don't know what to go, you can basically go for any chart that's here. And it's basically a 50-50. We did see with the last map, it came down to just who missed, and unfortunately it was myucchii picking up the extra miss in contrast to what Pavin did get. And maybe the story is different. I mean, both these players did show a bit of wear and tear, but that was the first map. Maybe the nerves are starting to get settled in, heading into just a more textbook regular pick instead of having to deal with some of those weird flams and snaps that was on Technical 2. We can wind things down a bit and head for Density 1, which I feel these players will... I feel like it's going to be like a more or less a ratio battle here than anything.
Yeah, this category as a whole kind of lends itself to higher scores in terms of players just being able to let the notes come down to them. They don't have to really think too hard about the overall release structures more often than not. That's usually reserved for like the wild cards, the tech picks, and in some cases the coordinations. Now we're getting into late game. We start getting into like those like timing hell type of charts. So swinging into the density, I feel like Pavin might really trust themselves to keep that 300 count as low as possible. And I mean, given the fact that it's not very often that we say a player can outratio myucchii, but if Pavin can keep that 300 count down, even when they do potentially find misses, I mean, that's just human at the end of the day, they're going to be in a pretty good position to capitalize on any little slip up from myucchii, and it really closes the window of opportunity for them. And I mean, that can easily be said the other way around. It's just by virtue of the fact that Pavin got that first break point that we even allude to that. I could easily be saying it the other way around, because that's just how close these two are right now.
Yeah, and here we go with Density 1 opting for end roll here for Pavin, looking to see if they can capitalize off of their own breakpoint here. And right now, was that an early 200 from myucchii? I think they might have dropped something early. Their accuracy is a bit below the margin than what Pavin just got. And I mean, we're already seeing it. Pavin just got up to 99.9 range. I feel like that's going to be Pavin's final accuracy at the end of this map. It's a very short map, so you don't really have much to work with here. And honestly, I think myucchii really needs to tread with caution, but so does Pavin. I mean, this is 300th of a percentage of difference. And
194.
This is 194 points. And like I said, this map, very short. You don't have much time to really drop any mistakes here. And these players are virtually tied. These players are tied.
There is very, very little separating the two players. A handful of 300s, maybe a 200 between the two of them. Pavin's actually starting to take a little bit of damage, returned in favor by myucchii, but it's still inside of 1,000 points going into the last of the map. Like you mentioned, not long in any stretch of the imagination, and we're starting to get into sections where you see these one-hand trills transitioning across the playfield, becomes two-hand for a moment before switching over to the other hand, and both players handling them very beautiful, but the lead is switching hands here. Pavin now in the driver's seat, starting to build up the accuracy into this last quarter. It's still either player's game. A singular 200 can swing this either way. It's still inside 300 points going into the last eighth of the map here.
Yeah, final 8 to go. It's still anyone's game, like you mentioned. myucchii is a bit behind on that accuracy department, but that's only 200ths of a percentage. But this map is concluding. Every 300 is going to matter here. myucchii is 100th behind Pavin, 517 points. And it's not enough for Pavin. myucchii had the ratio advantage too. Oh no, it came down to 200s.
Opening chord. You mentioned it at the very top of the map that myucchii might have picked up an early 200, and the fact that that is probably the difference in the scoreline is absolutely ridiculous. And I got a feel for them, man. They've been getting matchups where it feels like every single player that myucchii's played up against is able to essentially match them. I feel like I repeat it where it's like, okay, yeah, they're inside like 100%. They are virtually tied. That feels like the common sentiment between all the matches myucchii's played. And now against Pavin, it's like, all right, here we go again.
Yeah, it's like that one Grand Theft Auto San Andreas scene that I don't think I can say live on the air, but
Don't.
that is definitely myucchii's mindset right now. They have had an absolute. They've had an absolute. How would I put this? But they've had to really go through the trenches here to go to be where they are. And a bold move here from myucchii, going for their opponent's protect here.
All right, maybe they saw the 300 count on that density 1 pick, and they were like, huh, okay. If it just comes down to the 200s, I'm just not going to hit a 200.
Yeah, they need to stay ahead of their game here. And honestly, just they need to, like you said, keep that 200 count in check. You cannot avoid dropping a singular one. And honestly, I believe in myucchii to potentially just, they need to V1 SS. They cannot afford 200s. This is a situation where if Pavin still manages to keep up with this, then they could potentially capitalize off of this and take another breakpoint, which would not be the greatest of margin here. But myucchii really starting to learn here, and they are ahead by just a tad bit. That's a 3-digit point lead in their side. They are V1 SSing, but look at Pavin's ACK!
I don't believe my eyes. I refuse to believe that both these players are hovering in this 99.9 range. And usually when we see scenes like this, it's like, oh yeah, no, it's basically one player just carrying the load. But no, both players showing up and showing out. Pavin near perfection. And really showing why they protected this. This is an inhuman amount of accuracy as myucchii finally finds the drop going into the next third of the chart, and the lead skyrockets in Pavin's favor. 5,000 points to the good with half the map left to go here.
Everything I just said went out the window for myucchii. I think maybe nerves, or maybe they just misread a pattern wrong. They are going to drop that accuracy down to the low 99.7s here, while Pavin 0.2% ahead. 99.93 for them. 5,000 points in their favor. That is a miss of difference, however. And there is still the back half of the map left to go. myucchii does a wonderful job of recovering these misses, and right now they have a lot of map to do so. But it's just now the question, will Pavin find anything to trade back? They are starting to drop that accuracy down, but those are just, that's basic humans things. Dropping 300s is normal, and we immediately up the density to 100 here. myucchii climbing back very fast. It's up to Pavin if they can hold on to their accuracy and avoid the miss, avoid maybe even just 200s even. They need to avoid. There it is! Pavin finds the break, but now they're tied with myucchii. Oh no, this is gonna be very close.
There's enough time for Pavin to get back 1100 combo cap. They still managed to keep it tied in terms of accuracy, but now the buffer is out the window. It is teetering on a knife's edge once again. Both players needing to maintain perfection. It's the timing of the miss now. How clean was it? Was it a 50? Was it a pure drop? It is still flickering. Pavin trying to take it on the last couple of notes. It's 400!
Oh my god, Pavin, you need to stop!
Oh my lord! That is absolutely insane.
by by the last long note, the final note of the map, by the skin of Pavin's teeth, managing to squeak that point out by less than 500 points. And they take another breakpoint and make things 3-0 against myucchii.
I can't. Wow. Wow. What in the world is happening here? It's literally... I am literally speechless right now. It is very hard to shut me up sometimes, but to have 3 maps in a row come down to the wire in that way, hats off. Like, these players are playing some of the best Mania I have ever seen, and even when the human element comes out, they're managing to pull off scores that just leave your jaw on the floor. And we said it while we were waiting for myucchii before this match started. It's like they have been in matches where it's been decided by a couple hundred points, and Pavin, no stranger to that as well. This is shades of their match against Konkawa, where they were just winning maps by the narrowest of margins. And myucchii pulling out the mirror now as we make our way into this 4th map. We're clearing out the density section. It's density 3.
And oh no, myucchii opening up the map with a break, but thankfully just the start of the map, nothing really to sweat over. But I mean, I've said it over and over again, these players are also so consistent when it comes to every single one of these maps. It can just take the most smallest of mistakes to really make a difference. But I mean, I was gonna say myucchii has a very good history of when it comes to coming back from deficits. We saw it last week. myucchii down 4-2, 3-1 against the Lows. They come back and make it 6-4. It is entirely possible, but I think that redemption arc really needs to happen fairly soon. But this isn't a great start to really get the blueprint down here. But I mean, we have seen Pavin find breaks too. Pavin is a human as well, and that's only 2,000 points and starting to shrink just a tad bit on the side of Pavin. Anything can happen in this chart. It's fairly long as well. We're only in the first third.
Yeah, shades of density 4 coming to fruition here once again, where myucchii finds the early drop, and it just becomes the climb. I've never seen, or it's very rare when I see accuracy climb up that quickly from a drop. The fact that myucchii, with a miss, is close to 99.9% accuracy and is hot on the tail of Pavin, who is at that mark right now. It's absolutely ridiculous right now, and the fact that they're actually managing to close this gap ever so slightly. Pavin resting on that miss buffer from myucchii, missing inside the first 400 notes of this map, but with half the map left to go, anything past this point is fatal.
Yeah, you really need to tread with caution now. Like, it comes down to just the slightest of mistakes. Like you mentioned, myucchii finding that miss in the early parts of the map. They are climbing up and managing to keep just a
Oh, there's another one.
That is going to do lots now to the score as myucchii finds the second break of this map. Pavin still 6,000 combo in, still yet to, I don't think, even finding maybe just 1 or 2 200s right now, but they are ahead in the driver's seat now. They have 5,000 points to work with. That is still a miss of difference between these two players, but Pavin basically just steamrolling through the 3/4 of this map. They cannot afford anything now as we are nearing the final 6 of this map. myucchii with 3 breaks and how? I feel like every time I say myucchii's name, I just end up cursing them here. I should just.
I mean, hey, they're the ones playing. We're just here to deliver the action. Anytime we try to refer back to them, that's not our fault. But I mean, a credit to them. It's 3 misses. It's still close to 99.8% accuracy. Meanwhile, Pavin just casually FCing their way through this map. A tiny little portion left to go here. It's 8,000 points to buffer, but if this were clean, I'm really interested in seeing what the ratios are between the two players, because those misses do so much damage in the grand scheme of things. Pavin picking up or capitalizing on yet another breakpoint here, and
oh my goodness,
I don't. Everything else clean. Like, let's say those misses don't happen, and it's 6033 to 5594. I still think Pavin wins by inside of 1,000 points. That is ridiculous.
I think that's inside of 100 points. I think that's a bit less than 1,000 or less than 1,000. I think that's like, I would say probably 100 to like 80 points of difference there. That is insane.
Somebody
and hats off
math,
to.
But
yeah, I'm sure we have a math expert somewhere in this building.
You were gonna say.
But hats off to myucchii as well. Even with those unfortunate misses, managing to almost pull up with a 990, that is rare. That is rare, especially in the long note department. It's rare you see 990s with misses unless you have godlike ratio. And they managed to keep Pavin in check with that ratio aspect. They've been just trying so hard, but unfortunately it's just those other judgments that's really weighing them down. But myucchii going to break the glass in case of an emergency here. We're going to go for coordination 2 here, the carbon dioxide pick, and I feel like they're going to need to start converting that oxygen into carbon dioxide here heavily. They got to keep those nerves down here.
That joke always lands, dude.
You see,
I love carbon dioxide. All right. Like you said, breaking case of emergency type of a pick. I wouldn't say that, but going into myucchii's protect, like you said, I think you hit the nail right on the head when saying breaking case of emergency. They exhausted all the density picks, so they don't have to worry about those the rest of this match. And now they're gonna test Pavin to see how much their just raw fundamentals are, because when you get into these, dare I say, simpler structures in terms of maps, at least in terms of raw amount of note density, I feel like myucchii has a tiny bit of an advantage because of the fact that they are a little bit steadier in keeping that UR bar in check, and we're starting to see it here a little bit where they're pulling ahead by about 0.1%. But, I mean, all Pavin really needs to do is keep themselves within that little window and see if myucchii continues the streak of finding drops on these longer charts.
Yeah, but I think with less complexity of just the sheer amount of LNs that are on your screen, it should be fine with myucchii. But like you mentioned, it is not safe by any stretch of the imagination. I don't think there has been a singular FC on the side of myucchii this entire match, unless, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there was one map where myucchii did hold the full combo. Yeah, that was on end roll, but everything else miss after miss. But Pavin as well, also I believe one to find a few breaks here and there. I think they only FC'd one map as well, so both these players kind of trading back these misses, and I think that just goes to show how much nerves these players have, as well as how hard this map pool has gotten. Right now, flashing kind of back into this map here, myucchii still ahead by just roughly 0.6% here, just about around 1,000 points in their favor. This is the longest we've seen this lead in myucchii's favor.
Yeah, it feels like it's been a hot minute since they've held a lead for this long of a time, but again, just Pavin keeping themselves in and around, asking the questions of myucchii. It's like, all right, is this going to be a map that you FC, or are you going to fall into my clutches yet again here? There's a third of the map left to go, and all things considered, they're just trading this accuracy gap in terms of like every 100th that myucchii falls, Pavin seems to respond with about 100% of their own. And we've seen the trend where it's like they both start climbing towards the end of these charts, but now, for the first time what feels like a while, they're kind of just holding station, and this really favors myucchii with a quarter of the map left to go here.
Yeah, but they really need to stay focused and dialed in. Although that lead does now jump to 1,000 here to 2,000 points, it's still like you said, just on the edge of a knife here. It's still anyone's game. I feel myucchii can't afford any bad judgment in this final section of the map. It's starting to close, the final 100k to go. And I think it's safe to say now myucchii has pulled it off, unless, but oh my goodness, it's still 2,000 points, but I think myucchii can maybe take just 1-200 and it will still be in their favor. Pavin's accuracy is now in that 99.7 range, and they've done it. They have got on the board for their first point of this match.
And a pretty convincing one as well. 2,700 points in the grand scheme of things is a pretty wide margin for these two, where, I mean, we saw back-to-back inside 500-point wins. myucchii with the convincing 300 count being much lower than Pavin's on that one, and a very good protect in the grand scheme of things, just being able to comfortably make their way through it relatively hassle-free as Pavin decides to go wildcard 1.
And I think their myucchii has just discovered Pavin's kryptonite here. I feel now myucchii can kind of rest easy now. Kind of, maybe they have their game plan out. They're going to prioritize those coordination picks. And I mean, there is still those final 2 left on the board. So I think a breakpoint is crucial, and they are going to go for wildcard 1 here, Pavin. Going to opt for this map, and I mean, I'm going to reinvent the wheel here. If you play a Imperial Trinity map, you know exactly what you are in for. They like to map based on what they're hearing. They kind of just like, what's the word for it? There is a very good word. They kind of like, I wouldn't say freestyle, but they kind of like just go with the flow and times it by 100.
Yeah, just, I think freestyle is very, very apt there, at least for lack of a better word, but having myucchii get back on the board, you alluded to it, where it's crucial that they get a breakpoint. Dare I say it's mandatory. I think they're going to be quickly running out of picks here, especially if Pavin can pick this one up. It's match point situation. There's very little room for error from this point. So this is the critical junction of if myucchii is going to be able to begin staging a comeback, or if Pavin might be on the road to securing this one. We'll just wait to see. This map getting off to a very strong start for both players, but we're starting to see that 110 gap beginning to build up once again in myucchii's favor.
Yeah, this is going to be... Oh man, Pavin gonna pick up the first break. That is a huge opportunity for myucchii now. And I was about to say, this is going to be a very daunting task for myucchii to really hold on to a very convincing lead. But right there is a very good start with this very flam-heavy chart here. I mean, you really got to focus on those releases, and I feel that would benefit myucchii with these release factors. But Pavin only behind by just about a 1/10 of a percentage or so, around 1/10 of a percentage in 300s here. And about 2,000 points, 3,000 points in favor of myucchii. We still have a ton of map left to go. It's not to say it's 100% in set in stone, but there is still lots to go. And I mean, we have seen myucchii trade things when it comes to misses in the past with these charts. So we're just gonna have to wait and see.
For sure, but for right now, being able to rest on this cushion of the miss, courtesy of Pavin, gives him a little bit of wiggle room to work with. Did see a couple of 200s during that last sequence before transitioning back into this more coordination style. The density begins to ramp up once again. Very staggered start-stops to these staircase patterny LNs. But as we continue on, Pavin not really making the rampant comeback in terms of accuracy like we saw myucchii on those density picks when they did find those spree of misses where it felt like every time they dropped 2/10 it was immediately made up. and it's giving myucchii a little bit more of a cushion to work with. 3,500 points to the good, half the map still left to go. Anything can still happen, but you imagine that this is a bit of a confidence builder if myucchii can maintain this pace.
Yeah, they really need to keep their composure. And I mean, 4,000 points now in favor of myucchii. That is still in the range of a miss, and I feel this is where combo is key for myucchii. Not even that, but even just the slightest of 200s and even maybe 100s could be the deal breaker. But Pavin has done an excellent job recovering. There is still plenty of map left to go. The final quarter left, and I mean, I've said it before, myucchii has a history of comebacks. They have done it against Veloz, done it against Leon, and now looking to see if they can start forming one against Pavin here. It is entirely possible, and getting a breakpoint on this, it will be huge for myucchii. But they just need to keep that consistency, keep the nerves in check. You just have to imagine what it's like for myucchii right now. But right now, they have been keeping their composure very well. It's a 10th of a percentage difference. Pavin not too far behind, however. It is still 4,000 points. It could potentially shrink, but right now, it's staying in favor of myucchii, heading into our final 100,000 of map left. Here we go. Oh man, I'm too scared to even say anything now. I don't want to curse anything.
It's a 5,000 point cushion. Last number map coming through here. Pavin still trying to get back up around 99.7 range. myucchii still being comfortably ahead with that full 10th of a percent cushion. It was just the tiny little detail at the end of the day. Pavin being the one to blink first on one of these maps, and myucchii picking up a bit of steam here. It is now 4-2.
Thankfully, I have built my expectations from the match against Veloz to where I won't lose my mind over a pick like this, because I'm fairly used to it. I think we can all agree with that quarterfinals match against Veloz was a bit of a few heart attacks there for us. But if myucchii does this back to back, that is going to be crazy. Whoa! We're gonna see wildcard 2 coming out here. That's something I wasn't expecting. I thought maybe myucchii would capitalize off of their breakpoint with a coordination pick here, seeing how commanding coordination 2 was, but maybe just saving those in their back pocket for maybe later down the line, maybe trusting wildcard 2. This is going to be a risk and a half for myucchii. And I mean, they are starting to get their groove here. They are starting to keep that consistency, avoiding those misses here and there. So as long as they can keep their consistency and get that groove in, I feel like they're slowly chipping away at the lead. This is the chip that myucchii needs to really make things a 1-point game.
Yeah, this is, in my eyes, this feels like a pinch the map pool kind of a pick, where they still have the buffer of trying to break Pavin's next pick if this doesn't go in their favor, but it limits the options that Pavin can go into. And given the fact that Pavin did find a slip up on wildcard 1, maybe they feel this is a bit of a weakness that they can start exploiting. That, or they just like the song. So we'll just have to wait and see. This is gonna be a bit of a heart and mouth moment, I feel. If the last pick was critical for myucchii, this is potentially the start of a really crazy comeback.
I mean, hey, we have seen a crazy comeback before, so myucchii, like I said, very used to situations like this, but I'm still wondering, wildcard 2 is a very big risk. And I like myucchii's mentality here. We do like gambling here at OMLN4. But, oh man, this is going to be, I feel, probably our closest pick yet. But, I mean, like I said, myucchii has found their groove based on the last 2 maps. These shields. Ooh. And Pavin, that is a huge mistake on the side of Pavin here. Now myucchii can really start running away with this. That was also a pretty big accuracy drop for the standards that we have been seeing here, as that is 7,000 points in myucchii's favor.
Yeah, a massive slip up on the side of Pavin. Like you mentioned, in the context of this match, that is a massive swing. They were virtually tied in terms of accuracy, and now the cushion 0.2%. Pavin unable to keep that miss as clean as we have seen before, and maybe we're starting to see the few cracks in the armor in Pavin's performances, and myucchii now in a prime position to capitalize here on a breakpoint to bring themselves within one. There's still a quarter of the map left to go. Anything can still happen, but an 8,000 point cushion is way more than they probably would have expected going into this pick.
And yeah, heading into our final 8th of this map now, myucchii staying dialed in. They are ahead by a roughly 10th and 500th of a percentage here. They are in the driver's seat. The final 150k coming down to the line here. 7,000 points. This is the biggest lead myucchii has had in this match, and they are capitalizing it off big here. And just like that, it is now 4-3.
My goodness, no, this can't be happening again. But listen, it is Pavin's pick. They control whether or not they give over this next breakpoint, and I'm not sure what they could go for. I mean, wildcard 3 is left on the table. The tech picks are there. I don't think Pavin wants to go into the coordination picks at this point. That is a bold move going wildcard 2, and it really, really worked out in myucchii's favor there. That was in the grand scheme of things, a commanding victory in this match.
And just like that, it is a 1-point differential once again. myucchii winning 3 in a row here. And it is now 4-3. Now Pavin, it is their pick. They are going to opt for Tech 1, and Tech 2 did go very well for Pavin here. So it does make sense as to why they are going for this pick. And I mean, you don't want to risk wildcard 1. You don't want to risk any of the coordination picks. So go for that tech pool, because that you have a win on one of these maps. So Tech 1 is going to be their option here. And oh boy, if we see another one of these comebacks, I think I'm genuinely going to start getting gray hairs. This is like stress level 1000.
I mean, we're stressed here in the booth. I can only imagine how Pavin feels like right now. They're 2 points away from putting away myucchii. This is what was a critical pick for myucchii just a little bit ago with that coordination 2 and getting that first breakpoint. This is a critical junction for Pavin. I feel like if they lose this one, there's like the confidence has to be slipping a little bit in terms of how they were going into this. A very hot start for them. Now potentially feeling like they're on the back foot now, despite still being with a score lead in the point totals. But right now, little rough start. This map really does have those moments where you can start spiking a couple of extra 200s unnecessarily, and that buffer begins to build up once again. It's 0.2%. The outer column trail is beginning to rain down with the anchors. A little bit more of an inversely type of section before continuing on. It's really hard to read through this sometimes. You can bottom out and just spike entire sections, let go keys too early, but both players are navigating it beautifully. The FC's still on the table with a third of the map already gone. myucchii still in the lead by about 0.1% moving into this next section.
Yeah, this is where things are really going to come down here. I mean, I did notice Pavin had a very rough beginning with a lot of 200s, and right now that is the difference right now. And going into this back half, then again, another Imperial Trinity map here. So you do know what is to expect when it comes to a pick like this. It is going to be a lot of these more freestyle sections, a lot of flams here, and very, very also anchor heavy as well. Did notice a lot of long jacks here and there, I guess mini jacks. I don't know what the nerd terminology it is, but 0.09% here between these two players. It's myucchii with a lead of 1.7k, and some of the most awkward patterns this map has to offer absolutely being demolished by both sides here. And right now, myucchii just ahead by a sliver. And they cannot afford to take their foot off the pedal. There's a 200 that would put that lead in the triple digits. And we're in the final quarter. 500ths of a percentage. I need to catch my breath here. Oh my goodness.
Take all the time you need. There's a tiny sliver of map left to go here. It is still in myucchii's favor. It is 0.5% going into this outro. I feel like the worst is behind the players. Now it's just maintaining the composure. Don't give up any unnecessary 200s through this outro. The worst of it is already done. One massive pattern for the road, 1,700 points to margin, and we have a tied game. It is 4-4 coming down to the wire. One pick left for both players. What can possibly happen at this point now?
Yes.
You want to run that by us again, man? You were peaking at that point.
Oh, he can't keep getting away with this! Oh my goodness!
A justified crash out. That myucchii going for the timeout here. So 2 minutes for the pick, 2 minutes for the timeout. What is happening here? It was 4-0 at one point. It's literally 4 to Pavin, 4 to myucchii. What?
Oh.
Usually we see trades back and forth. Like we're splitting points back and forth. Like, oh, breakpoint one way, breakpoint the other. No. No. We don't get normal matches with these guys. We don't get normal matches in winner's bracket, apparently. And this has been living up to the billing. This is an absolutely insane matchup between two players pushing each other to the absolute limit. As myucchii takes a second, they're asking what picks are left. They have coordination.
I think we also need to take a second. Oh my goodness.
They got coordination 1. We've got coordination 3. We've got tech 3. Wild card 3.
And that's it for myucchii. And you can see coordination. Oh.
Our referee listing out the picks. I feel like it's got to be a coordination pick.
Yeah, you cannot gamble.
Actually, maybe wildcard 3? I mean, myucchii's looked so strong on the wildcards, despite banning wildcard 4. Like, those were some of the some of the cleanest performances we have seen from them. And Pavin, for what it's worth, by their standards, struggled on those picks. So maybe, I mean, while we deliberate here, can I just say, myucchii with mirror is a completely different animal.
It is that mirror buff. That's just what
it literally is. I feel like all of the god runs that myucchii ever gets in this game is always with mirror. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just psychological. I don't know if there's just an inherent bias to the maps that allow them to be able to flip it and just destroy them. But outside of losing the first, they went 3 maps without it. I think after the 4th map, they're 4-1 with mirror in this match, and it's gonna be wildcard 3.
I mean, my significant other will definitely agree with you on that. The mirror buff definitely exists, and
yeah,
I think because she does use mirror a lot. Shout out Astel if you're in the chat, but I feel now it's not a myth. It is factual. The mirror buff. Yeah, for multiple players it seems, and here we go. Underway with wildcard 3 from myucchii. You did predict a wildcard could come out here, and I feel this is also another gamble, but I mean, not as less of a gamble than the previous wildcard we did see, because myucchii did win off of that by a break from Pavin, so now they feel probably a lot more comfortable than what they did before previously. with the other wild card. And I mean, a lot more comfortable now, especially that we are tied at 4.
We're tied at 4, and this leaderboard doesn't know who is winning right now. But myucchii actually going to find the first slider break in this map, and a pretty nasty one as well, dropping a full 0.2%, leaving Pavin alone in that 99.9% range, and giving them 3,000 points, 4,000 points to work with through the first quarter of this map. Not the start myucchii was hoping for going into this wildcard 3 pick.
That was a pretty nasty opening for myucchii, and I mean, it's still the opening, but that was a huge slider break like you mentioned. There is still 2/3 of this map left to go, but there is, like you said, that was a very nasty break on the side of myucchii, and that's 7,000 points in favor of Pavin. Although there is still a lot to go here, it takes 1,000,001 forces to get one of these players to break.
Literally, it is a Herculean effort to catch these guys slipping up, and right now, Pavin actually taking full advantage of that drop from myucchii, able to balloon this lead to about 7,000 points, still on that 99.9% perch, and I'm not sure if that timeout was needed from myucchii here. They potentially gave Pavin an opportunity to kind of catch their breath, just reeling from that barrage of a comeback from myucchii here, and maybe just giving them a chance to regain their composure and show us what they are made of on these wildcard picks. Maybe the previous two weren't good indicators of what they can do on these wildcard picks, because right now Pavin is absolutely destroying this chart with a quarter of the map left to go.
Yeah, there is a 10th of a percentage of difference here. Still 7,000 points of differential between Pavin and myucchii, but I mean, lots of these shields running in, like I said, it just takes one slip up, and that has been the deal breaker for a lot of these matches. It has just been one slip up, and that's all it takes for Pavin here. But they have been oh so consistent this entire match, and it's coming down to our final 100k. 7,000 points, slowly but surely shrinking because of myucchii's accuracy starting to gain here. But unless we see something catastrophical, it doesn't look like it's going to happen, and Pavin is going to bring things to a match point situation.
Oh, break! Wait, is there enough time? 4,000 points, they managed to hang on.
No, there isn't. They held on. If that was in the final quarter, had that mishappen, maybe 30 seconds, even maybe just a minute earlier, we would have had a completely different game. But Pavin, match point situation, crucial break point. Oh my goodness.
They don't do that to me, man. Don't do that to me, Pavin. That is, I imagine the miss came up on their screen and the blood just rushed to their feet. Just thinking like, no, I mean, with how close this match has been, both these players know they cannot afford to break at any point during this match. And I mean, maybe confidence unfounded from myucchii there on wildcard 3. Now looking back on it, the coordination ones were there. But I mean, what is it? You miss 100% of shots you don't take, and they swung for the fences. It was just a strikeout in that scenario, as now Pavin holds the cards here. They have the pick. myucchii needing to find it within themselves to get the final break point to force tiebreaker, but Pavin's going to try and shut the door here at first opportunity.
Yeah, it is kill 3. Oh, this is another gamble. This is another gamble for Pavin. I mean, maybe that tech pick is just a bit too uncomfortable for Pavin, but the final pick of the match is going to be Coordination 3. Pavin looking to close this match, while myucchii is looking to rewrite the history books and pull off probably the most historical match that OMLN4 Long No Tournament will ever see. Currently, I know.
Currently, yes. we don't want to peak too early. We're only in semifinals, but the fact that this is a semifinals matchup, this feels like it could be a grand finals match, given how these two are playing. And I mean, mercifully, the loser
It's
here just
always
goes down to the loser's
semifinals.
bracket.
Yeah,
I mean, hey,
thankfully, this is a winner's bracket match, so
it's the make or break round. This is where we really see who is here to win. This is a top 3 spot guaranteed if you win. There's a lot to play for, and right now, I don't know who wins this. They both have the ability to absolutely sharpshoot this map, and right now, through the opening 400 combo, there is, again, literally nothing separating the two of them.
yeah, and also I feel that going back on the previous coordination pick, myucchii had the advantage just on ratio, and that was a pretty commanding advantage as well. But this is a different style of coordination. It's a lot more physical, a lot more shields raining down here, and right now Pavin is ahead by just 100% or so in their favor. It is an insanely close map here, and this is one of our more lengthier ones as well. This one goes on for quite a bit for the likings of these players, and they have been at it for over an hour now. And you might, I feel like with also how physical this pool's gotten, maybe the stamina has maybe just tinkered just a tad bit off these players. I know these players are absolute godlike, but that consistency and stamina does have a limit. And I feel like these players might potentially reach it, maybe, just maybe.
Yeah, I'm willing to go out on a limb and agree with you there. It definitely wears away at you after a while, but both these players have been in situations like this before, just backed against the wall, willing to go out swinging if they know their time has come. It is 200% with 2/3 of the map left to go here. Both players holding onto their FCs, and very, very little separating the two of them. It is still inside of 750 points with half the map left to go here. It is way too close to call. It's either going to end here or we go to tiebreaker.
I mean, if we go to a tiebreaker, that is the absolute cherry on top for a match like this. But even then, I don't feel like I should be saying much here. This is just a match where
Oh, there it is! There's a break. There's a break from myucchii. Not traded back still from Pavin, but it gives Pavin a pretty significant cushion to work with. It was pretty clean in the grand scheme of things. They're still only behind inside of 1/10%. They can start making up the ground here, but it's now going to come to Pavin. If they can FC, they close the door on this chapter of the semifinals and push their ticket into the finals, but they need to hang on here. There's still 1/3 of the map left to go. Can they hang on?
Yeah, that is basically the $1 million question here. When it's all said and done, can Pavin hold on to their absolute insane combo they have right now? And even then, myucchii is in a very solid striking distance. That is only 3,000 points in Pavin's favor, not 5,000 or 6,000 with the usual break here, as myucchii is climbing back at a very rapid pace. But time is ticking, and Pavin is really holding up very well. But you have to also take into consideration the nerve Pavin has, and also how physical this ending is. So many shields raining down here, and that accuracy is slowly closing in. Final 100k to go. Pavin is absolutely consistent on this final jacks of the map, not going to bother Pavin one bit. There's another break from myucchii, and I think that right there, ladies and gentlemen, is the final nail in the coffin. That was a historical round for myucchii. The final notes rain down. Unfortunately, myucchii will not get that tiebreaker, but oh my goodness, that is still one hell of a historic match, as Pavin will take this match 6-4 and advance to the winners finals and clinch a podium spot.
My goodness, what a match. It felt so over at 4-0. myucchii fighting all the way back to tie things up, and Pavin getting the little mental reset off that timeout to just recompose themselves and show us why they shot out to that 4-0 lead. Fully deserved there. That was a hell of a performance. And I mean, their next opponent, #1 seed. You want to be the best, you got to beat the best. And Nepigen is a hell of a customer to go up against for that finals. I am looking so forward to that match.
Yeah, probably the two best Logno players we have in this tournament. I mean, quite literally, Seed 1 and Seed 2 going to be duking it out in the winners finals next weekend to see who will punch their ticket into the grand finale. While the end is it's not over for myucchii. They have to fight the rest of their tournament lives in the losers bracket, and just saying that is already sending shivers down my spine, and probably everyone who is still in this tournament's spine, as they are going to have to fight in the losers bracket. It's just who will myucchii fight? That is the question. It's either going to be Spanner Dude, also known as Tango Momentum, or Flowerful, which I believe is our final match of the weekend.
Yep, that match going to be happening at the absolutely insane hour of Monday, 18:30 UTC. So quite a bit of time before that match comes to fruition. The map pool showcase for finals will happen shortly thereafter. I believe the planned proposed time is 20 UTC on Monday, so a bit of a late one, but definitely worth sticking around for. So, Sonny, you got anything else left to add before we close things out here?
I do not have anything to really close things out, and we can just wrap a bow on this match. As my goodness, what a hell of an effort from myucchii. They really put things very strong in the end, but unfortunately just wasn't enough for the absolute god that is Pavin. And also, don't forget, we do have a Ordeal in Illusion still up, so if you want to go get have a shot at winning some pocket money, just submit a score in the Ordeal in Illusion. I like to just do a little plug there because we forgot last time. But yeah, besides that, we will be back for our next match, which will be at 18:30 UTC for Spanner Dude, also known as Tango Momentum, versus Flowerful, the final match of the semifinals. But for now, I've been Eric Sandy commentating along with Sparky. We will see you all in roughly half an hour. Goodbye.
Not half an hour, it's a whole day, man.
Oh yeah. Wait,
Monday.
what? Oh,
It's
I read that
Monday.
wrong. Yeah. Okay, never mind.
Monday. We'll catch y'all tomorrow at 18:30
tomorrow.
UTC. Take care, y'all.